We talked earlier about just the model's limited ability to reason. And I think that's one thing that needs to be better. The model needs to be better at reasoning. An example of this that my co-founder Ilya uses sometimes that is really stuck in my mind is there was like a time in Newton's life where the right thing for him to do...
You're talking, of course, about Isaac Newton, not my life.
Isaac Newton.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe you too.
But maybe my life.
Hear
We'll
the story.
find out. Stay tuned.
Where the right thing for him to do was to read every math textbook he could get his hands on. He should like talk to every smart professor, talk to his peers, do problem sets, whatever. And that's kind of what our models do today. And at some point, he was never going to invent calculus doing that. What didn't exist in any textbook. And at some point, he had to go think of new ideas and then test them out and build them, whatever else. And that phase, that second phase, we don't do yet. And I think you need that before it's something we want to call an AGI.
In graduate school in about 1970, I saw a banner on the wall that said, "Learn how to meditate." And I found out that I could debug the software I was writing in my nuclear physics studies in a meditation state much more accurately and quicker than I could if I were actually looking at the printouts. The lines that had errors in them were red. The others were black. And that kind of crashed my reality. Up until that time, like most physicists, I believed that if you couldn't measure it, then it didn't exist. So I would do experiments in that I could have one of these effects and then change a variable and then do it again and then change that variable a little more and do it again. From consciousness, your intent can modify future probability, can modify what happens in the physical world, which means that consciousness is the fundamental thing and the physical world is a derivative of consciousness. So I knew that consciousness theory should also contain physics theory.
I finished my neurosurgical training at Duke in 1987, and then I started work at Harvard Medical School after doing a fellowship in cerebrovascular neurosurgery, all along thinking I understood something about brain, mind, and consciousness. But that, of course, was the tremendous gift of my near-death experience, is finding out that what I thought was a worldview that we just assumed to be true is actually false, that consciousness is primordial. All of this emergent reality basically emerges from consciousness. And it opens the door to a tremendous amount of understanding about consciousness and the mind and the power that human beings have over their unfolding reality.
If consciousness is fundamental, where does the physical world end and consciousness begin?
The physical world is a product of the consciousness world. One is within the other. It's not an either-or. It's all one thing.
It isn't as though there's a physical world and there's a mental world. There's only one world. It's all consciousness. It's not just localized in there, it's everywhere. And it's also not in space, and it's not in time. It's somehow before space and time. That's what we mean by fundamental. Consciousness is a kind of a substance, a proto-substance perhaps, which is usually in a primordial, refined state that doesn't even appear to be matter or energy yet. But from that can emerge what we start seeing as a physical world. Just like ice can take on different phases, maybe we're talking about something like consciousness, which has different phases. So if consciousness is a continuum, then some forms of consciousness can appear to be hard matter.
Todos somos la ñaquea.